Welcome to That's Embarrassing Broncos. I'm Brandon Perna here with Will Keys. And sorry we didn't pod after the game yesterday evening. But I was working to get the new worst game ever up on That's Good Sports. And I figured we were going to be probably too negative last night. Let it breathe for 24 hours or 48, or sorry, less than 24. Yeah, about 24 hours.
You're about 24.
See where we feel, or see how we feel today. Let it digest, let it marinate, let the steam of the stink rise away from our bodies. And still, right before the show, you said you're depressed, Will, about the Broncos, depressed about the season, depressed about the future, because you don't think it's getting better soon.
No.
And I agree with that statement.
I might be more negative than I was last night at this point.
Yeah.
More
time to digest. Well, don't be negative, Will, because even though I didn't credit you in the tweet,
it's okay.
Our tweet went viral. And like you've said before, anything you write for me is my intellectual property. So
that's why I signed in the contract.
Yep. We were writing the script and we had different sections and the conclusion, the hackening, and I had something going about, like the Broncos lost to their ex-head coach. And then you said you were, texting with your dad?
Yeah.
So we got to give your dad some credit, right?
Yeah, I owe a little bit to my dad there. He planted the seed that we had lost 3 of our last 5 games, or 3 of the 5 games this season we lost to former head coaches with Fangio, McDaniels, and now Hackett. But I thought about it, and I was like, well, we also lost to Mike McDaniel, who was our ball boy once upon a time.
I get tagged about Mike McDaniel being the ball boy, I feel like once a week. Like, did you know this?
Yeah, it's that picture of him with the earrings. So yeah, we know. We've known this for some time now. Thank you. But we also lost to Jack Del Rio in week 2. Who was the defensive coordinator in Denver for 3 seasons.
And interim head coach.
I forgot about that. Yeah. Oh.
Yeah.
If only we could.
I think I said that in the episode, but
yeah.
Yeah. So that was in the script last night, and I was like, this is really good. So I'm like, let me just fucking fire this off as a tweet. And tweet did very well here, as you can see. It was doing numbers, as the youth say. And we got shouted out on the Dan Le Batard show, Will.
That's right. Right. Yeah. Thanks to whoever clipped that. I'm sure we can pull it up, but someone clipped it and then tweeted it to you, and then you sent it to me. And yeah, I mean, Dan didn't even have a look of disgust when he read the title of our show or anything.
No.
I'm sure it just came across his desk via a producer, but it was pretty cool. It's only the beginning. Expect more of this.
What's funny too, Will, before we get into the game, I was up late. I uploaded at midnight last night. All right.
Yeah.
And Le Batard just did an interview with Katie Nolan, and it was on his Le Batard sessions or whatever, where he just talks to somebody for a while and they just have a long conversation. And they were going to talk about her career journey and she's not working right now and kind of how she's handling all that stuff. And every now and then I'll catch clips of the Le Batard show, but I never just sit down and listen to it. And last night I needed to just kind of unwind and go to sleep. So I just popped in that interview as I went to bed last night. Because to me, Katie Nolan, what she was doing was so similar in terms of a comedy sports show, and she just ended up over at ESPN and like what we've been doing. And so I was like, let me just, I want to listen to this. So it's just really random that like I put that in last night. Probably I listened to it longer than I should have because it kept me up for a while. And then this morning we're getting shouted out on fucking Le Batard. Does it mean anything? Does it mean the Broncos will be good, Will?
I don't think there's anything that could guarantee that at this point.
Does it mean the Broncos?
Nothing short of the hand of God.
Yeah, we also got shouted out on 104.3 The Fan by Zach By. I think D-Mac, who's not at The Fan anymore, also shouted out the same tweet. So we're doing the rounds.
All right. Not bad. Not
bad at all.
Be nice if they link to the video, but they won't do that, and that's okay.
That's all right. It's okay.
Video's doing fine.
I said I knew we would get on Le Batard one day, and he liked the tweet, so you know.
He was right. Next up, CNN.
Yeah. Put us on Wolf Blitzer.
Put us on Wolf.
Yeah.
It's like your shirt right now. Is that a wolf?
The Wolf Blitzer. Speaking of shirts, I'm dying inside. Available. Yep. I'll put a link in the description for this. Somebody said they saw somebody wearing that at the game on the TV last night. Like it was on the broadcast. Really? But I couldn't find it. So if you know where that is, somebody get that to me. I would like to see it.
Yeah, that's good for marketing. There you go.
Also,
just wear our shirts on TV more is what we're saying.
Please. Free marketing. Dan Le Batard, if you could just tweet out our shirts, that would be tight. Our friends over at Underdog Fantasy, code Let's Ride. Sign up with Let's Ride. They're going to match your first deposit up to $500. Will, up to $500. And I lost my pick'em again. Like I just can't win pick'ems. But I want you to help me make one here real quick.
Okay? Yeah.
Because I want to do it for tonight's game. But the issue, Will, is there's only 2 picks for tonight's game, and that's Jordan Love and Jimmy Garoppolo. So I'm going to say higher. I'm going to say lower on Jimmy G. But here's the thing. I'm in Colorado, so I got to make at least 4 picks. Now I got to go to baseball. So I got to go into baseball. Well, and you know me, I don't know ball. I don't know baseball. Do you see any of these guys and think I should pick?
Yeah, I think we get a little bounce back game from the Dodgers. All right. I would go higher Mookie Betts.
Okay. Like it.
And then let's go higher with the catcher, Will Smith.
Yeah, I saw a tweet with Will Smith and baseball. I was like, wait, why is Will Smith at a bit? Oh yeah, he played. There's a Will Smith in baseball.
Charge the mound.
Nice.
It was kind of the Hollywood version of charging the mound. What he did to Chris Rock.
That's right. It really is. Okay, so I'm gonna do a fitty. I'm gonna do a fitty here. Oh no! Fantasy points and same team fantasy. Oh my goodness. So I got to pick a different team, I think.
Okay.
Should I do the That can't be right. Oh, wait. What about Altuve? What do you feel about Altuve?
Altuve is pretty damn good in the postseason. And, if you think the Astros will rebound after last night, I think that's a safe bet.
I do think so. All right, there we go. I made a pick.
I know you do. You got your picks lined up. We talk about it all the time.
Link in the description. All right, let's talk about these Broncos.
Yep. Finally.
All right. My take yesterday after the game, after I rewatched it, is this was the first game that I felt like Russ played poorly. And when I say poorly, I mean it's not like he's almost never like the worst quarterback in the league. You know, it's never like, oh God, his passer rating like Mac Jones is 30 and he's thrown for 63 yards or had like 3 picks like Dak, right?
Yeah. He doesn't.
And I don't want to
just self-destruct.
Yeah,
ever.
we've really tried to, give Russ the benefit of the doubts, and we've seen him play well. And he's streaky. He's so streaky. But last night was his worst game. And the fumble at the end, when I've rewatched it several times, one, it was a great play by the Jets, but was that Quincy Williams?
Quincy Williams, yeah.
Like, he just swipes in and knocks the ball out. Like, that's a high IQ play from the defender. But Russ is just carrying the ball like this on his, is right there for him to pop out. So that fumble, really, really low awareness play from your quarterback. And the safety he took was just, it's unforgivable for a guy who's been in the league, I feel, that long. Like, he was sitting in the end zone, like he was in the middle of the field. You know what I mean?
No, totally. I feel like I didn't love the play call there.
Sure.
Just because, I think down there, and you don't have a very good offensive line. You need to be a little safer.
A little run. Give him some room.
Give him a run. Like, I mean, they run so many screens, and a few of them actually work. But like, that's probably a place for a screen, or just like a Pirine run up the middle where you feel pretty good about getting like 4 yards, which was working most of the game. But I don't like, sitting in the pocket there as if it was the 50-yard line. Maybe the new end zones got him confused. They were white end zones.
Yeah.
Maybe he thought he was somewhere else. It's hard to say, but he definitely had, I think it was Pirine or whoever the running back was, on just a little hook wide open in the middle of the field. That's where I think his stature or lack thereof comes into play.
Yeah, because that was in the video as well, and I did like a little arrow pointing to him.
Yeah.
But I think possibly what Russ saw there was, I think, a linebacker coming towards the running back. So maybe one, Russ is like not throwing it there because the guy's going to get hit immediately, or two, just sees it too late. I kind of hope Russ is like, I'm not going to blow up my back there. My thought is he doesn't see it like you're saying, because maybe he's too short, or I think he just sees it too late, and that's like part of the bigger issue with how he sees the field.
Yeah. I mean, like it feels like it's working at times in that Sean Payton's put a big emphasis on the quick game, and Russ is just kind of by nature not a quick game quarterback.
Yeah.
He's not exactly Brock Purdy out there just seeing a guy and making a read and throwing the ball really quick. He wants to let things develop. And it works, especially at the beginning of games. But you see things like that where, all right, either he's not seeing the field quickly enough, or this was stupid to call this play in the shadow of your own goal line. We're probably just both.
Well, and I think that's there's two things, because I think like play calling is coming into question today pretty heavily, I think, for Sean Payton. I think he's getting called out a lot more than I've seen.
Especially there's one play call I think we're both thinking of.
There's the play calling's getting called out, but what bothers me about a guy like Russ, who's been in the league as long as he has, like, okay, you're backed up at your own end zone. You don't like the play call that comes in, just fucking call your own play. Like, that's what I want, like, my quarterback to do. Be like, you know what I mean? Like, no, we're just gonna run it. You know what I mean? Get the play call in, and then just be like, no, guys, whatever. Power trap Z on two. I'm going to get a little room so I can throw the ball here. I know my offensive line is struggling a little bit against a very good Jets defensive line. I'm just not going to do that. Like, I don't think Russ trusts himself to do that. I don't think he has the right relationship yet with Sean Payton to feel empowered to do that. But, like, you're an NFL quarterback. You're making $240 million a year, and I know Sean Payton's in there to, like, help correct and fix things. But, like, if I'm Russ in that position, I'm calling my own shots when I don't really like it and I think I can help my team for a play that's like as mundane as like, I need some room to work here. You know what I mean? And then we heard Mike McDaniel this week talking about a play like Tua called on his own in a game. And Mike was just like, you know, I trust him. And I told him to be, you know, careful about the plays he does call, because he's been so good when he does call his own plays. I don't want him to mess up his percentage. Like, that's what you want, and that you want to trust your QB to do that. I don't know if Russ will ever be that guy.
Why he's not a ball boy anymore. Trust his players. Right. I mean, it feels like sometimes they struggle to get the original play called, let alone change the play.
Well, that happened in this game. They had to use a timeout. And it happened last year with Hackett. So the common denominator is Russ.
I mean, that might be it. That might be it. And it also, like, you can kind of point at the end of the game too. Like, you saw Russ go to the sideline. And Payton was really upset at him, and they didn't really it didn't look like Wilson really acknowledged him or anything. And it was something about, you know you have a free rusher, so there's a hot route or a hot read you have to make, and apparently that was the running back. It seemed poorly designed too, because he'd have to throw through the free rusher to get to the running back. I just don't like plays where you have a free rusher coming, especially on your blind side, where you have to carry the ball with your right hand to attempt to get out of trouble, because that's how the fumble happened. That's how they lost the game.
No, the free rusher caused the fumble. It is a bizarre, I guess, concept to have there. I think we're talking about Russ and Peyton right now because this is the first game where we can't say, well, at least the offense, kind of looked pretty good.
Yeah, and you wouldn't just the fact that they scored over 20, you feel okay just looking at the box score, and you'd say, okay, this is just another instance of bad defense, but obviously it's not, because the defense actually played pretty well in the first half. The special teams blunder got them in the red zone immediately after the defense forced a 3-and-out, and that's a field goal. And then the Broncos offense surrendered 9 points. They get the safety and the scoop and score by Bryce Hall.
Yeah.
AKA Breece Hall.
Exactly.
But, they just fell asleep for the third quarter. There was nothing there. No one was getting open. It was totally stagnant.
Well, it's exactly what we've watched for the last, I feel like, 3 years now. 3, maybe 4 years. 5 years? I don't know. But it is as soon as one underperforming unit shows up and gives you a game, your other units let you down. There was a story last year. There's a story year before. It's like defense last year. Very good, very good, very good. Finally, the offense does something. Defense gives up too many points that week out of nowhere, usually to the Raiders. So it's the same thing. And the special teams, the fumbles, the back-to-back Mims fumbles were rough. But then you wonder, why isn't Marvin Mims on the field later in the game?
Yeah.
To do the thing he does well, which is catch passes.
Deep.
There were plays where I felt like Russ was extending the play and guys weren't getting back to him to places where he could throw the ball. There were plays where they were getting back to him where he didn't see them. So it just stacks up, all of it. Jaleel McLaughlin, 4 carries on the opening drive. And he disappears.
No, totally.
One thing I feel like Sean Payton isn't doing well right now, and maybe it's because there's a lot of other shit going on. It's identifying which guys are playing well and figuring out how to call some of his plays to get them more opportunities in the game.
Yeah, I mean, especially a running back, I think it's important to ride the hot hand. And I get that you can't have McLaughlin out there in every scenario because of his limitations as a pass blocker. And, P. Ryan just runs better in between the tackles. He's bigger and tougher. But you just want to see the ball in his hands, so in some way, shape, or form. And they tried that obviously with the reverse or double reverse, I guess, to Mims. And I'm not even like convinced that was Mims' fault.
No, I think it was Pirines.
I
thought the pitch was too high.
The curse of Melvin Gordon, a running back wearing number 25, coughing up the football.
Yeah. And like, could have Mims caught it? Sure. But I think like you're expecting the ball like right here in that situation. It was up here.
Yeah, it's a tough play to make while you're running, definitely. But I think obviously the issue, and a lot of people pointed this out already, but I think it was not DJ Reed. DJ Reed was already out. Sauce Gardner got hurt the play before. And they put a practice squad corner out there.
Why not exploit that,
right? You think like if this was a Peyton Manning offense, that's the first thing they do. They will throw the ball at him every play until Gardner's back out there.
Yeah, it's who's identifying that then, right? Like that's Peyton Manning.
Yeah.
Does Peyton Manning, like in that situation, does he just know because it's Peyton Manning? Does he got, his OC in his ear? Kubiak, Mike McCoy, Adam Gase, I don't know, saying like, look, they just put in this dude, go to DT there. Like you got an advantage. Go to Emmanuel there. To me, I just assume that's just like Peyton Manning, like, oh, who the fuck's number 25? Let me check my brain bank. It is practice squad player signed by the Patriots in 2004, went to Miami in 2005, now with the Bears, going after that guy.
Yeah, his mind is like a spreadsheet of Pro Football Reference and Pro Football Focus scores. He just sees that little like red square next to his name. Yeah, we got to go at him.
Russ sees that guy. He's like, ooh, I'm going to talk to him about investing in my business after this game is over.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's this one little subtle thing that happened earlier in the game, but it was almost like frustrating because they got it right. And there are Jets players coming on and off the field. And for about 5 seconds, I'm watching this happen. I'm like, snap it, snap it, snap it, snap it, snap it and go deep or something. And it takes a like excruciatingly long time to get the ball snapped. And they do get the too many men on the field penalty, but they also just handed off to McLaughlin for like a loss of 3. So it's like, okay, this is like, it's not really high level stuff. It's just stuff that like Brady and Manning were really good at.
Yeah.
But the fact that it like took so long to take advantage of a Jets defense that was just woefully confused. It was both a good play and a bad play.
That's one of the things that was annoying about that game was I think the Jets have a very good defense, but I don't think their defense played in like as well as they have in previous games this season. I thought the Broncos had a real opportunity to win, and they just didn't.
Totally. No, I mean, Robert Saleh said after the game they could have blown that, his words, they could have blown that team out of the water. Well, it's like, hey, why didn't you?
Yeah.
Like you could have. You had so many opportunities. So maybe, convert in the red zone. Also, the Broncos had the same opportunity. It's like, that game could have the score could have been reversed very easily. If not for, the Jets recovered 4 of their own fumbles.
Yeah, those bastards.
Right. And
3.
Zach Wilson 2, I think, on his own. And then Gibson 1. And there might have been another one. But
they recovered the ball better is literally why they won the game. Because in clutch time, Zach Wilson threw an interception and Russell Wilson fumbled. They evened each other out.
And I mean, clutch time at the end of the first half too. They couldn't even spike the ball in time.
Yeah, and so like here's what's really funny too, because and I get it. I get why the Broncos have been destroyed by everybody on earth last night and today because Hackett came back into Denver and got the win. Like I understand why. Sean Payton brought that upon himself.
And they would have been doing it regardless of what he said before the season.
Yeah, maybe not quite to the magnitude, but yes.
Yeah, I mean, obviously that exacerbated the issue, but people will be dunking on us all the same.
Yeah, if Sean Payton doesn't say that, though, I don't think Nathaniel Hackett gets a fucking game ball after this game. Like, to me, he got a game ball because of what Sean Payton said. He did not get a game ball because the Jets' offense was any good. You know what I mean?
No, it wasn't. It really wasn't. And
I'm not trying to knock on Hackett, but like, if you want to look at this game very honestly, the Jets are dunking on the Broncos for barely beating one of the worst defenses in the league when their quarterback in the red zone played like complete ass. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I mean,
that's why I'm so pissed that the Broncos lost.
I think that's a big reason why I'm so just like downtrodden today.
Yeah.
There's no like scenario, I think, where Hackett got railroaded or thrown under the bus. Sean Payton was just mean to him.
Yeah.
Sean Payton just kicked the guy while he's down, and people sympathize with Hackett because he's a nice guy and he likes Austin Powers, but he's not a very good football coach, really in any way, shape, or form, honestly. Especially when he doesn't have Aaron Rodgers at his disposal.
Yeah.
But he gets to be the martyr. Yeah. Or Jerry Rosberg. He gets to be the martyr, and he gets to be the hero for a game where his offense really didn't, do very much aside from just like manhandle the Broncos in the run game, which everyone's been doing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, like, spare me the Broncos did Nathaniel Hackett dirty narrative that the national media is like pushing now, because he's not a good coach. Odds are he'll be gone by the end of the season, unless they want to keep him for a full Rodgers season. I think that's probably the only way he sticks around.
And to be fair to Hackett right now, he's working with Zach Wilson, and I don't think Zach Wilson will ever be good in the NFL.
Yeah, well,
I don't.
He's looked better.
No, I just said like he looked good against the Chiefs. He did not look good in the game against the Broncos.
No,
I think the Broncos defense is worse than the Chiefs. So maybe I'm just mad at Zach Wilson for confusing me more about football.
That's the thing. I think it's like the expectation with him got reset so low that now a 0 touchdown, 1 interception games where he converts like a couple third downs to the tight end is now this magnificent achievement.
Yeah. There's two things I want to talk about before we get out here. I think we'll end about Jerry Rosberg. So don't let me forget.
I love him.
We love us some Rosberg. Here we go. I wanted to pop this in. No, and you're right. We gave the defense some credit for keeping the Broncos in that game in the first half. And then Andrew Mason had a tweet I used in the video. It was about the Broncos offense in the third quarter, where it was like 4 yards, -4 yards, -2 yards, -6 yards, a fumble, and then negative whatever yards. It was like 5 straight series where the offense produced literally negative production.
Yeah.
Offense did their part to stink it up.
Sure. Yeah.
But this has been the problem this year, right?
Yeah. I mean, this is why they're 1-4.
The defense is really bad. And the Dolphins game was such an outlier. It really kind of hurts a lot of their stats. It probably, like, if they were borderline like second worst or third worst, it just shot them all the way to
yeah. No, it's like they've played 6 games so far.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that was 2 really good offensive output games by the Dolphins in 1.
Yes. Yes. But if you just look at dead last in yards allowed per play, last in rushing yards, or the worst rushing defense in the NFL, maybe the Packers can surpass them tonight against the Raiders. I doubt it. Pass play, total defense, all of it. It's the worst in the league. So if it felt bad, it's been as bad as it feels.
Yeah, I mean, and just seeing, there's something about too, like, I feel like this is not exactly, but roughly where they played the Jets in the season last year.
Week 7 last year, yeah.
Yeah, and both at home, like, you know, afternoon games. It just felt like it's so like helpless seeing kind of the same thing happen, like almost to a T in some spots, like Breece Hall with a long touchdown run. Just certain aspects of these games just like feel so familiar, and now they start to run together to the point where you feel like the entire weight of the last 7 years in one afternoon.
No, I think that was like the thing I found yesterday was he got hurt with 72 rushing yards against the Broncos, and his touchdown was a 72-yard touchdown against the Broncos in his game back. So that's very like deja vu-y almost. You know,
yeah. No, it's just like, okay, we couldn't stop this guy last year. We can't stop him this year. Like, what's changed?
Yeah, he got hurt in that game.
Yep,
and they still beat us. There was that weird fumble in that game too. I think that the refs blew. In addition to Sauce Gardner getting the hold, I think Broncos, we had something to bitch about last year, but
nothing this time really.
I'd have to look, but right now Zach Wilson is 2-0 against the Broncos.
No, he lost his rookie year. We shut him out in 2021.
2-1.
Yeah,
maybe we're the only team though that he has multiple wins against.
I doubt it's the Patriots or the Bills or the Dolphins.
Yeah, that'd be interesting. I wonder if somebody find that stat. I'm not gonna look it up. All right. Do you trust Sean Payton after this year? Like, I think the Broncos are going to be dismantling. I don't think that's I think that's what everybody thinks. And maybe they surprise us and they don't make any trades before the trade deadline. But like, do you trust the process? Do you trust the process at all, Will? Do you think Sean Payton is struggling possibly a little bit with Russell Wilson and he could be a good head coach with a different QB? Or do you think like his decisions just outside of that, maybe he's a little out of his element?
I think he deserves one shot at a full scale restart. Yeah. I do. Yeah. I think that's what they probably wanted. They brought him in and said, let's see what we can do with the guys that we have on the field now. And if it doesn't work, we're going to let you do things your way. And maybe that doesn't include the current general manager in those plans. Maybe it does. But I think that ownership believes, and I think too that, you know, he's earned his opportunity to kind of start things from the ground level and build the team and the roster and probably the quarterback in his image, basically. And I know that, you know, people will be like, oh, why would you spend a top 3 pick on a quarterback when the defense is historically bad? But yeah, that's the thing about a rebuild is you're just taking the best player.
Yeah.
And we're not trying to fix anything necessarily. We're not trying to band-aid the defense or remake the defense. You're just trying to remake a whole team, and you just can't even worry about what's the biggest problem right now. You just have to just scrap it. And
you got to look at it like it's a clean slate. And where do you start with the clean slate?
The most important position. If it's there, if like the player you want is there, then you go for it. And I know like we could talk to like Zach Seegers about how you actually make that happen with all the money tied to Russell Wilson, but they'll find a way. Yeah. You know, the Eagles successfully moved on from Carson Wentz. Teams do that all the time. Like we might see the Cardinals do it with Kyler Murray too.
Yeah, possibility.
Dead money just doesn't scare NFL teams like it used to.
Yeah, well-funded NFL teams, and the Broncos are a well-funded team.
And like Russell Wilson's playing a lot better than Carson Wentz was too, obviously. So I don't know, like maybe you can find a way to trade him and have another team like take on part of that contract. This is kind of down the road, but yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, like, I was just trying to think of spots you might go, but I think like the first 4 games, I was like, well, okay, first 4 games, Russell's playing better, and we were 0-3, and I was just like, look, I was all in on the idea of playing for the quarterback of the future, for the draft pick, for the tank, which we don't really believe in, but playing for the tank. I was there. Then we beat the Bears. And I know it's just the Bears, but I'm like, they're probably going to win a few games. I can buy into the idea of playing a few more seasons with Russell Wilson and them building the other important pieces. Last game against the Jets, I don't even care whose fault it is. I don't care who deserves the blame for it. I am not sold on the idea of trying to win playoff games with Russell Wilson moving forward.
Yeah, and it's not even a, this is Russell Wilson's fault sort of thing. It's just like
just a practical approach to buying into the idea that the ultimate goal is to win a Super Bowl. And I just don't think you can win a Super Bowl with Russell Wilson in his current form, his current age, where shit's going to get harder every year.
I think like this is a playoff caliber quarterback that is on a team that is woefully like not ready for that level of expectations. And the timing is such that he just doesn't make sense for a rebuild. Like aging quarterbacks do not, and he's playing well. Again, like the numbers yesterday indicated, I think that he's playing better than he did. But he's obviously had really great moments this year. It's just not, they're incongruous right now.
Yeah, you're going, if you have Russell Wilson, you have to have a very, very good roster. And the Broncos don't.
Which is true of most quarterbacks.
Yeah. And that's the problem. The Broncos gave up a lot for a guy that we thought could elevate, some deficiencies around the roster.
Yeah. And
we thought maybe some of our skill players were a lot more dynamic than they've proved to be. Like I feel like Russ could go to the 49ers, he'd be fine. He could go to the Eagles, he would be fine. Maybe that's about it. The rest, you're like, you're in the same position.
You get the feeling that like if you plug them in at Atlanta, that makes sense.
That makes sense there. Yeah,
I don't think he goes to Atlanta, obviously, because I think that's where future lives. But just like hypothetically, as like a thought experiment, that feels like a good spot for him.
Arthur Smith is kind of a wild card, a little crazy. He might take a chance on Russ.
Yeah, maybe he would.
Interesting. Yeah, but like you're saying, it's not just like it's not an anti-Russ thing. It's more of the philosophical approach to what I think the Broncos need to do to get back to being a team that can be competitive in the playoffs. They could keep Russ. They could sell pieces. They could have a lot of draft capital. They could hit on the draft. They could sign some free agents. They could have just say they have a much improved roster next season with Russell Wilson. I think best case scenario, they're a team that could get to the playoffs, but I don't think they're a team that can win in the playoffs, because if Russ is not having a good day, things are really bad. But like we've seen, there's these stretches in games where he's just cold. And Seahawks fans, when I said it in the video, they're like, dude, you don't even understand how long we have been watching that happen in Seattle. Like you kind of just live with
he's streaky.
a streak of 3 and outs and 3 and outs and 3 and outs where he's great in the other pockets of it. But he's not going to change that at this point. I thought like it was a Pete Carroll problem. Should have known, but so that's why like you take a chance on a young guy who maybe can play 60 minutes of very good football.
Yeah, and you don't need him to you don't expect him to be great right out of the gate, unless you're talking about a guy like Caleb Williams. Yeah. In which case the expectation is that.
Would you feel better if it were Drake May coming to the Broncos over Caleb?
In what way?
I don't know. Do you like Drake May more?
I don't know if I like him more. I think they're just two like very different players. I don't know. There are things that concern me about watching Caleb Williams play. Like I watched him play against Arizona. It wasn't very good for most of the first half against the 1-4, 1-5 Arizona State team, or Arizona. Sorry, not Arizona State. But yeah, he holds the ball a really long time, which he's allowed to do, I guess, at USC because the protection's so great, and he hasn't really played any great defensive teams so far.
That's why Mahomes is allowed to do it. Why Josh Allen's allowed to do it, right?
Yeah. Yeah, and so you see the obvious comparisons to Mahomes. It's just like I don't know, does that transfer to the next level, or will he have to like find a new gear? It's like it's almost like
I think every quarterback has to find a new gear at the next level.
It just feels like okay, Drake May, like sometimes because of the talent on his offense, he's forced to do things that are harder, and that reflects in his stat sheet. Whereas Caleb Williams, he's already up to like 25 touchdowns this year, or Drake May is sitting at like 9 touchdowns. It's like, okay, but they're playing different sports essentially. Right. I would be happy with either though, to put it quickly.
What about Quinny Ewers? What if like the Broncos can't get the top 2 QBs? What are you going with the mullet man?
I just see Drew Lock. He threw this interception. Early in the game against Oklahoma that just looked like Drew Lock.
Okay. We're out on Quinn. Sorry, Quinn.
For now, yeah. Unless he can revamp his game before the draft.
Yeah. All right. Well, I said I wanted to end with Jerry Rosburg. Okay, fuck.
Yeah.
Who tweeted out a Jerry Rosburg thing? I tweeted it and said the Broncos should have actually brought him back.
Uh-huh.
Some people thought I was trolling. I was fucking 100%.
No, we're not trolling at all.
No.
I kind of wanted him like at the time too.
Yeah, we talked about how he would be like maybe a low-key really good hire. And what Rosburg did was he righted a sinking ship. So I think you got to give him credit for that. The Broncos played better almost immediately once he took over. I think he has that thing that's just like he's the head coach material, special teams guy. I think he understands all aspects of the game. And I think like he would have, I bet Evero would have stayed. And like all you're looking for at that point,
you need a good offensive coordinator.
There you go. You need a good offensive coordinator. You need a young guy, an innovative guy, whatever. You got to take a chance somewhere.
You want your version of like a Ben Johnson. Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't just get Ben Johnson.
Yeah. So I wasn't being like facetious. Like
No.
I think there's this, I know why they hired Sean Payton. And I'm not saying Jerry Rosburg is a better coach than Sean Payton.
It just didn't feel like they even considered it for like a couple of reasons.
So you say that again?
It didn't feel like the ownership even considered it seriously for like 2 big reasons, which is A, they wanted to make a splash hire, and B, they had a bunch of money burning a hole in their pocket and they wanted to show it, which is like understandable. But that doesn't guarantee you're getting the best candidate.
Yeah. Did he interview? Like he wanted to interview and then maybe he didn't. I remember.
I remember seeing something that said like he wanted to like show them his plan for the team.
Yeah,
he's
that's
basically
right.
throwing his hat in the ring.
He wanted to. And I think like there's a very hard thing to do at that level in sports, and it's identifying the I don't even want to call him an underdog, but like identifying the unpopular choice that might be the right guy for the job.
Yeah, and I don't think he's a dark horse, basically.
Yeah, Rosberg would not have been a popular choice, but Sean Payton wasn't the Broncos' first choice, and he wasn't their first choice.
Yeah, I mean, according to most accounts.
Yeah, they agreed to come together, work for some money, work for the legacy, like all that shit. Nobody was gonna be mad about the hiring at the time.
That's where you think about the Walmart money, and you kind of think like, oh, that's kind of a cheat code that they can just spend as much money on a head coach as they want, really. Then you think about it, it's like, okay, well then maybe you have coaches taking the position for the wrong reasons and not because it's the best fit for them.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, you saw that in 2018 when the Raiders hired John Gruden. And then
God, yeah.
God willing, that's not the same case here, but
no.
5 games into it, you can't make the case otherwise either.
Yeah. No, and I think we're both on you said, like, let's give Sean Payton the time to
I mean,
if
you showed me the first 5 games of this season and said, do you still want Payton? I'd be like, no, I don't want him, obviously. But now at this point, I mean, I'm not big on like the sunk cost fallacy, but to some extent, like you just have to let it play out for a couple years.
Yeah. And the reason I was thinking about that is because I think we should do an episode about all the wrong decisions the Broncos have made.
Yeah, I was looking at headlines last night about Kyle Shanahan's interview with the Broncos.
Yeah, and that's the other thing that scares me. It's just like every opportunity for coaching hires, it feels like the Broncos have made the wrong one. You could argue Fangio was possibly still kind of like.
I just don't remember who was out there.
Choice. I looked it up. It wasn't
Zach Taylor.
Zach Taylor was there, but Zach Taylor's hard to evaluate because they got Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase.
Well, he was bad enough to get them Joe Burrow for a year.
Yep.
And then good enough to take him to the Super Bowl. So
yeah. Anyway, I just don't think Rosberg gets enough credit. That was the point. We'll get out of here. Don't forget to check out Underdog Fantasy. Use our code Let's Ride. Link in the description. Will Keys, he's at Guillermo Yaves on Twitter. Good night.
And John Elway plays entire career without an ACL.
And a soul.